A very good afternoon to all the viewers and the webinar team. This is A. Ram Prasad, Principal, Telangana Model School, Ramachandrapuram, Sangareddy District. I have the privilege to introduce Mrs. SHAITAZ Begum, PGT Political Science from Telangana Model School, Dhanwada in Naranpet District. She has a wonderful academic record and a vast experience in teaching. She is associated with Telangana Model School since inception of the schools in 2013. She has conducted a number of sessions for intermediate students earlier also. The topic which she is going to conduct today is rights and duties. Primarily, every citizen, irrespective of whether he or she is educated or uneducated, need to know what are the rights and duties. So this session won't be useful for not only for intermediate students, for every student and for every Indian citizen. We need to know our right as well as our duty. So rights and duties are actually interdependent. When we have right, so we will perform duty. When we have duty, so we'll demand rights. I look forward for a wonderful session on this particular topic by Mrs. SHAITAZ Begum. Over to Mrs. SHAITAZ Begum for her session. Ma'am, you can start your session.
Yes. A very good morning to everyone. This is Mrs. SHAITAZ Begum, PGT Political Science from TSMS Dhanwada, Naranpet District. I am very glad to conduct this session. A very warm welcome to all the students. I request all the students to please pay attention during the whole session because the chapter which we are going to discuss today is for intermediate first year, chapter 6, rights and duties. Rights and duties, in fact, they lay the basic foundation for our subject, that is political science. Irrespective of group, what the student has taken, everyone should be aware of our rights and duties in order to save ourselves from exploitation and also in order to perform our duties very well towards our country. So every one of us should be aware of our rights as well as responsibilities. So this chapter is very important. So I request all the students to please pay attention during the whole session. It lays the foundation for our subject, that is political science. So let us start the session. Rights. So today in this chapter, we are going to discuss rights and duties. Let us start with the topic rights. What are rights? Rights are generally defined as justified claims for protection of general interest. They are defined as claims. Claims means what? Asking, demanding. Rights are demanding. Why do we demand rights? For protection of our general interest. What general interest? For our living a happy and a dignified life. Rights are very essential in our social life. They are legal, social, or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. Rights are social, legal, or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. That is, rights are formative principles which lays the foundation for telling what an individual is allowed to do, what an individual owes to his country. Rights, they are given to us based on some legal system or ethical theory or social convention. Rights are very essential conditions of social life. In fact, they are considered as instruments of social welfare. Without rights, the citizens, they lose confidence. When we have rights with us, we are self-confident and it helps us to develop our overall development and also help us to prove our caliber. So rights are very important part in our life. All human beings are born free and enjoy equal rights and dignity. All human beings are born. We all are different. That is, physically, we all are different. That means we have different nose, different eyes, isn't it? Our features are different, isn't it, children? But how we are same? We are same when we are enjoying our rights. Every human has rights and all are having and equal rights and dignity which are given by the state. Now, in this chapter, when we discuss rights and duties, let us also know the fact that rights and duties are inseparable. Rights and duties are the two sides of the same coin. That is why they are regarded inseparable. Inseparable. When we demand for rights, we should also have a thinking of our duty. When we perform our duties excellently towards our fellow citizens, towards our country, definitely we get our rights. So demanding for rights without performing duties is ethically and morally wrong. Rights are defined as basic human freedom. Without rights, we cannot enjoy freedom. These are the basic needs for the development of an individual. Rights are defined as basic human freedoms which every Indian citizen has a right to enjoy for a proper and harmonious development of personality. In the absence of rights, we cannot develop properly. And an underdeveloped citizen or a citizen whom he or she cannot develop himself will not be of much help to the nation. If the citizen has developed, then automatically the nation also develops. So for the development of nation, to cater to the needs of the nation, rights are very important. These rights universally apply to all citizens, irrespective of race, place of birth, religion, caste, or gender. Rights which are given to us are universal. What do you mean by universal? That is, without any discrimination, these rights are applicable to all the citizens of the place. There is no discrimination while rights are implemented on people. When we speak about rights, obviously we have to discuss duties, isn't it, children? So the fundamental duties are defined as moral obligations of all citizens to help promote a spirit of patriotism and to uphold the unity of India. We have fundamental duties which are enshrined, which are incorporated in our Indian Constitution in Part 4A. In Part 4A of Indian Constitution, we have fundamental duties. We have 11 fundamental duties which we will be discussing in this session, in the upcoming session. So these fundamental duties are obligations. What do you mean by an obligation? Obligation means a duty. It is an obligation to all the citizen to follow it, abide by it, so that it promotes a spirit of patriotism. What do you mean by patriotism? Patriotism is love for your mother country, love for your mother land. So fundamental duties, when are followed, when are abided, they develop a spirit of patriotism, and which is very much needed to hold the unity and integrity of a country. Rights and duties are two wheels on which the chariot of life moves forward smoothly. Life becomes smoother if rights and duties go hand in hand and become complementary to each other. Rights and duties here once again, they are just explained, or they are just compared like they are two wheels of the same chariot. If one wheel is absent, then the chariot slightly moves down completely. So these two wheels, they should be completely balanced, and they should go hand in hand to make the life of a citizen smoother, easier, and dignified. Rights and duties are complementary and inseparable. Like as I said, rights and duties are the two sides of the same coin. We cannot separate the two sides of the same coin, isn't it? They are complementary to each other and they are inseparable. They are just like how the shadow and man is. Can we separate our shadow from us? No, it is impossible. So in the same sense, rights and duties are inseparable. Citizens require rights for the overall development of their personality in society and state. Overall development of the citizen is very much essential for the progress of a nation. So definitely rights and duties, they play a vital role in our life. Any citizen, every one of us are expected to have a thorough knowledge of these rights and duties. Rights and duties are indispensable for comprehensive development of individual. Indispensable. They are indispensable for comprehensive, continuous development of individual. The development of individual should be continuous. It is a continuous process, isn't it? It's not that the development has started and it is stopped after a while. So the rights and duties, they are absolutely necessary. Indispensable means what? Absolutely necessary for the continuous growth of an individual. In the absence of these rights and duties, the growth of an individual is almost low. No. Every individual is expected to recognize and respect the rights of fellow beings. Children, this is very important. Every individual is expected to recognize and respect the rights of fellow beings. When we speak and when we demand our rights, then we should also think, we should also respect the rights of our fellow beings, of our fellow beings. That means when we are enjoying our rights, it is not at the cost of taking away someone's right. Taking away someone's right. We should at most respect the rights of fellow beings. The rights of fellow beings. Like for example, like if you are arranging a party, a birthday party, or whatever may be at your home. So when you go for a loud music at late night, thinking that this is my right, I'm enjoying, I have a party at home, so I have the right to enjoy the party. But what are you doing there? You're disturbing the sleep of your neighbors. That means what are you doing? You're encroaching or you're troubling them. You're encroaching their right, isn't it? So when we are enjoying our rights, then we have to respect the rights of our fellow beings. That is very important. Many many eminent philosophers have given definitions for rights. Here we will discuss the definitions given by Ernest Barker and Bosanquet. According to Ernest Barker, rights are the external conditions necessary for the development of the capacities of personality of the individual. According to Barker, Rights are external conditions which are given to us by the government and which lay the foundation of necessary development, which lay the foundation of improving our caliber, which lay the foundation of proving our talent as an individual. So definitely they improve confidence in us and they improve our personality. According to Bonsenque, a right is a claim recognized by the society and enforced by the state. So according to this philosopher, he said a right is a claim, demand, which is recognized by the society. Rights are the product of history. Rights are the product of history and they precede the state. They have come before the origin of the state and society. So these rights are recognized by the society and enforced by the state, enforced by a sovereign authority. So when we are discussing rights and responsibilities, let me make the subject, let me clear the subject or make you still understand very easily. Like I would like to quote an example here of this is a slide which is showing you rights and responsibilities. Now, as you are a student, now as a student, what are your rights? When you're at school as a student, what are your rights? It is your right to feel safe in the school or an educational institution. It is a right of the student to feel safe. It is a right of a student to voice opinion. You have to voice your opinion in your teaching and learning process, in your classroom. You have a right there. You have a right to feel accepted. You should be accepted. That means there should not be any discrimination shown in the name of religion, caste, gender, or creed. You have a right to be accepted by everyone, by your classmates and in the school environment. As a student, you have a right to ask questions and ask them and have them answered. As a student, you have a right to clarify your doubts from your teacher, from your teachers, and you have a right to get your doubts clarified. No one can stop you as a student. But when we talk about rights, we have also responsibilities, isn't it? Because these are the two sides of the same coin. They are just like shadow of a man. Man and shadow. Are these separable? No. So as a student, what are your responsibilities? Do not disrupt someone else's learning process. For example, you have completed your part of writing notes. That doesn't mean that you are going to disturb your classmate who is still doing the work. You should not disturb someone's learning process. Why do we go to an educational institution, children? We go there for learning, isn't it? It is a two-way process, teaching and learning. It goes hand in hand. You are not supposed to bully anyone. It is your responsibility that you should not tease anyone. You should not mock at any student. And this is first and foremost responsibility to keep a clean environment, isn't it? Even we have a campaign of Swachh Bharat now, isn't it? Earlier to that also, it was a responsibility. It is a responsibility that we have to keep a clean environment. Keeping your classroom neat is your duty as a student. Keeping your school neat is your duty as a student. Keeping your environment completely neat. And as a student, to participate in the classroom in a positive manner. Participate in the teaching and learning process in a very positive manner. According as a student, this is your duty. This is your responsibility. Now let us discuss features of rights or characteristics of rights. Now here in this picture, you can see it's just looking like a balance in which you can see one side rights and one side duties. So these two should go hand in hand, or these two should be balanced in our life in order to have a secured and dignified life. These rights, we have different features of rights like indivisible, universal, inherent in nature, inalienable, not absolute, and interconnected. Let us go with the first feature of right, indivisible. What is the general meaning of the term indivisible, students? Indivisible means which cannot be divided, which cannot be divided. Rights are indivisible and interconnected with each other, interconnected and interdependent. That means one set of rights cannot be enjoyed completely in the absence of other rights. So that is why we say they are inseparable and indivisible, cannot be taken separately as one complete branch. Like for example, making progress in civil and political rights makes the rights of people like economic, social and cultural rights very easy. All these civil, political, economic and cultural rights are very important and they are interconnected. The one cannot be enjoyed in the absence of other rights. So that is why we say rights are indivisible. They apply to all equally. Universal, they apply to all equally. They are universal in nature. Universal means generally applicable to all without any discrimination. No discrimination in the name of caste, religion, gender, age, or place of birth. Rights are universal in nature. The next important feature of rights is inherent in nature. Inherent in nature, that means permanent in nature. Rights are permanent. They are very important in the development of a social life of man. These rights, they aimed at the basic progress of people. They are permanent. They are permanent in nature. And human rights, like when we talk about rights, we discuss human rights. Human rights like right to life, right to liberty, right to property, all these rights, they aim, and we have many more rights which aim only at one thing, that is the progress of mankind, progress of mankind. And the government takes many measures and many steps to safeguard our rights, to safeguard our human rights. The next important feature of rights is inalienable. Inalienable, which cannot be surrendered or which cannot be taken away. These rights, these rights cannot be taken away. These are the rights which cannot be taken away. These rights government cannot violate under any circumstances. Under any circumstances. These inalienable rights, they are natural rights that only exist when the country's constitution has given us. These rights are taken or given to the citizens by the constitution of the country. Like examples of these inalienable rights are to act in self-defense. To act in self-defense. What do you mean by self-defense? For example, you're attacked by someone. You have a right to defend yourself, to save yourself from the attack. Isn't it self-defense? You have a right to self-defense. Like when someone has filed a petition, you have a right to self-defense. You can also take the support of law to defend yourself, to defend yourself. That is one of the forms of inalienable rights. To own a private property. All of us have the right to purchase property and own property. It is one of our natural rights which has come to us by the time we are born. to move freely within the country and also to another country. That is also one of the forms of inalienable rights. We are free to move within our country and also to visit other country. To think freely, that is also in one of the inalienable right. We are free to think our progress and to make our living a happy living and also a comfortable and secured life. And we have a right to worship. We have a right to worship. We have a right to choose whatever religion we want. So all these are the examples of inalienable rights. Next important feature of rights is not absolute. Not absolute means rights are not absolute. That means some rights which the state has imposed on us can be taken away. That means can be suspended for a short period of time in national emergencies or other situations. That is, rights are having or they have certain limitations. They have certain limitations. The society and state can impose some restrictions on the enjoyment of rights by the individuals depending upon the situation. Rights are meant for contributing social welfare and security. All the rights, they aim only at contributing what? Social welfare. They contribute to the social welfare. That is the development of society, development of individual. And they also help the people to have a secure life, Rights are interconnected. That means rights are dependent on one another. I said one set of, as I said earlier, one set of rights cannot be enjoyed in the absence of other rights. So that is why we say rights are interconnected. For example, to enjoy economic rights, civil rights have to be fully enjoyed. That is right to life, right to property. These are some of the civil rights. So these rights are interconnected. All the rights are indivisible, universal, interconnected, and dependent on each other. Now let us discuss classification or kinds of rights. Rights are classified into these types. Broadly, they are classified into natural rights, moral rights, legal rights, and fundamental rights. Rights are classified broadly: natural rights, moral rights, legal rights, and fundamental rights. Legal rights are again subdivided into three. Civil rights, political rights, and economic rights. Now let us discuss natural rights. Natural rights. What are the natural rights? The term itself tells us that it has come to us from nature. Natural rights are those rights which are enjoyed by all by birth. The society and state has recognized these rights. Now you can see here, he is an eminent philosopher, John Locke, a philosopher. He has propounded the theory of natural rights. According to him, all people are born with three natural rights. That is, right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. And it is a duty of the government to protect these rights. So according to John Locke, all the people are born with three natural rights. What are those? Right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. And it is a duty of the government to protect these rights. Now let us discuss what is the theory of natural rights given by John Locke. According to John Locke, He believed that people could learn from experience and improve themselves. He said that people can learn from experience, from nature, from experience, and what we learn, we do not learn the failures. We check out for the wrong things and we try to set them. We try to improve ourselves, but by not repeating those paths. John Locke believed all people are born free and equal with three natural rights. We all are born free and we all are born equal. We all are born equal and we all enjoy. As human beings, we enjoy three rights: right to life, right to property, and right to liberty. Government needs to protect those rights, and if it doesn't, citizens have the right to overthrow it. What is it here? Government. So it is the duty of the government to protect these rights. Which rights? These three rights: right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. So it is the government duty according to the natural rights theory of John Locke. He emphasized that it is a duty of the government to protect these rights of the citizens, and if the government fails to do so, the citizens have the right to overthrow it. How can we overthrow a government? We can overthrow a government by how? By casting our vote to the eligible government. Locke's theory had a deep influence on modern political thinking. What is something you have done wrong in the past and learned from that experience? Because rights, they are the products of history. Rights precede the state. So what we have done wrong in the past and what we have learned from that experience also paves a better way and a better understanding for rights. He believed that people had the natural ability to govern their own affairs. And Locke hated the idea of absolute monarchs and favored self-governing. John Locke, he said that monarchy should not be followed. He said that there should not be solo rule. Monarchy is nothing but one person rule. According to him, he argued that all the people have the ability in them to govern themselves. Only thing is they have to be given proper opportunities, and he was against the idea of monarchy, and he always favored self-governing, like different forms of government, like one of the best forms of government, that is democracy. Now let us discuss moral and legal rights. Moral and legal rights. Moral rights are based on an individual perspective, that is, right to work, right to safety, right to health, and right to happiness. When we listen this word moral, what does it mean? These rights, they have come from the human sense of goodness and justice. Morals, human sense of goodness and justice. And these rights are based on human conscience. And these moral rights, they are not supported by law. They are not enforced by the state. They are not enforced by the state. They are not backed by any force of law. They are not backed by any force of law. If any person violates moral rights, he or she cannot be, taken any legal action against that person. That is why these rights are not backed by law. It is a moral or human conscience. Next comes legal rights. Legal rights are limited to a particular legal system and jurisdiction. That is, we have a absolute legal system from which we derive the rights, from which citizens get the rights. Example, every country's citizen is guaranteed in the Declaration of Independence the rights to life, liberty, and freedom to speech. All these rights have been given to all the citizens, guaranteed by a constitution of a particular country, by a sovereign authority. Legal rights are those rights which are accepted and enforced by the state. The state has to accept these rights and the state has to implement these rights on the citizens. Such rights are called legal rights. Such rights are called legal rights. They are applicable to all sections of society without any discrimination. All these legal rights are common for all. They are applicable for all sections of the society without any discrimination. Court of law of the state enforces the legal rights. That is, they are backed by the force of law. They are supported by the force of law. Any debasement or any violation, debasement, that is violation, any debasement to any legal law is legal right is punishable by law. It is a punishable offense. Legal rights are accepted by all citizens and they affect all the citizens. They affect all the citizens. They are equally applicable to all the citizens without any discrimination. We have different types of legal laws like civil law, customary law, and common law. In my previous chapter, I have discussed all these different kinds of laws. That is my previous session. Now, legal rights are again subdivided into what? How many types, children? Civil rights, political rights, and economic rights. Legal rights are again subdivided into civil rights, political rights, and economic rights. What are civil rights? Why they are important? Civil rights are important because they aim at providing basic conditions for the upliftment of human being and they help in the happy and dignified living of a individual. That is why these civil rights are very important. Civil rights are described as a gift to the democracy. They are described as a gift to the democracy and civil rights are considered very vital for the society, very important for the society. Right to life, right to liberty, right to equality. These are the certain civil rights which an individual enjoys. Next comes political rights. Why political rights are important? Political rights are important because they are essential for the success and the working of democracy. They are considered very essential for the success and working of a democratic country. These rights like right to vote, right to petition, that is right to file a petition in the court, right to contest in the elections, right to criticize the government, right to hold public offices are some of the examples of political rights which all the citizens enjoy equally. Economic rights, economic rights, economic rights, they enable people to have a reasonable and legal source of livelihood. Economic rights, they enable the individuals to have a reasonable and legal source of livelihood. They provide economic security to the individual. They provide economic security to the individual. Without fulfillment of these rights, economic rights, no people cannot enjoy civil and political rights. So that is why we say rights are interdependent and interconnected. It is essential for a person to have economic rights in order to develop himself, in order to have a successful life. These are certain economic rights, that is right to work, right to get adequate wages, that is equal work, equal pay, right to leisure. You have a right to have free time during your work, that is right to leisure. Right to social security. So these are the some examples of economic rights. Before we proceed to the other parts, let us also discuss here one of the important forms of rights, that is fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. Why are they important? Fundamental rights are enshrined in Part 3 of Indian Constitution. Part 3 of Indian Constitution. Every citizen, irrespective of caste, creed, or without any discrimination, they have been granted these fundamental rights by the Indian Constitution. We have different fundamental rights, and these fundamental rights are very vital for the moral, intellectual, and spiritual development of an individual. These fundamental rights are very important for the moral, intellectual, and spiritual development of an individual. These are enshrined in Part 3 of Indian Constitution from Articles 12 to 35. From Article 12 to 35. Briefly, we are going to discuss fundamental rights now. Like we have 6 fundamental rights: right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion. Whichever right religion you want, you can just follow that religion, right? Cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. These are the 6 fundamental rights which all the citizens enjoy, all the citizens of India enjoy without any discrimination. So now let us discuss the safeguards of rights. The safeguards of rights. What do you mean by safeguards of rights? Safeguards of rights means which are the essential conditions which protect our rights. Which protect our rights. Now, as you can see here, 10 safeguards of rights. That means which are the essential conditions for protection of our rights. The first is democratic rule. A democratic rule lays a foundation for enjoying our rights. In a democratic rule, rights can be enjoyed to its optimum potential. A democratic form of government favors the rights of an individual and supports the individual in all the aspects. Because it is in a democratic form of government, it is the citizen who makes the government and who sees to it that they all participate in the political affairs of the state, and sees to it that even the haves and the have-not, that is the difference between the haves and the have-nots, is reduced. The next important safeguard of rights is written constitution. We have 2 forms of constitution, written and unwritten. India follows a written constitution. A country which follows a written constitution guarantees the protection of rights, like we have fundamental rights written in our constitution. In Part 3 of Indian Constitution, we have fundamental rights. According to those rights, we become very confident, and we have access to enjoy, and we have access to develop ourselves. So a written constitution guarantees and protects the rights of the individual. Constitutional incorporation. The constitution must incorporate rights. That means, like for example, Indian Constitution is written and it incorporates or it guarantees different rights to its individuals which are written in the constitution, which are not orally or verbally told, which are guaranteed and which are written in the constitution. So incorporation of those rights in the constitution is very important, and which makes an individual very free. That means they do not have the fear of losing their rights because they are incorporated, they are written in the Indian Constitution, and the citizens can claim them whenever it is required. Separation of powers. The theory of separation of power. This is very important topic in your second year also. Theory of separation of powers. Like basically, we know that we have three organs of government: legislature, executive, and judiciary. These are the three important organs of the government through which the government, the machinery of the government, runs its administration. So among these three organs of the government, the powers are divided. The powers are separated among these three organs so that one organ can act as a check against the other organ, which will help in the perfect administration of the country. Then comes decentralization of the power. That is dividing, not centralizing, decentralizing, division of powers. Division of power between whom now? Between the union government and the state governments. Union government, and we have one strong union government at the center, and we have different state governments like government of Telangana, government of Maharashtra, government of Andhra Pradesh. So perfect division has been done by the constitution so as to avoid wrong administration and for the betterment of the people. Next important safeguard of rights is rule of law. What is rule of law? I discussed this in the earlier session. Let me remind you once again, this is also very important 2 marks question in your question paper in your intermediate public examination. Rule of law is nothing but no one is above law. Law is equal for everyone. What is rule of law? Law is equal for everyone and law is same for all. No person is above law. That is above law. Everyone is equal before law. If this condition is there, then only we can enjoy our rights. Then independent and impartial judiciary. What is judiciary? The third important organ of the government, judiciary. What is the function of the judiciary? Judiciary dispenses justice. It gives us justice. Through what? Through courts. Through courts. So in this, to enjoy the rights, to enjoy the maximum rights, we should have a independent and impartial judiciary. That means whenever judges or judgments are made, they should be not partial, they should be impartial. That is only keeping in mind the law and the rules, the judgments should be given. It should not be partial. That means it should not be favoring to any person. Then next, independent press. Press should be independent. Press means what here? Media, maybe a print media or an electronic media. It is one of the important factors in a democratic form of government. Like the press should be allowed to disseminate the news and views without supporting anyone or without having a fear, or pressure from someone. It should be allowed to give a true news, disseminate the news which is really true without any favor to anyone or without being pressurized by any XYZ. That is called independent press. Social and economic equality. This is very much important. Social and economic equality must be there in a society in order to enjoy all these rights. In the absence of social and economic equalities, rights have no meaning. So it is the duty of the government to see that these equality can be curtailed and these equalities can be obtained by all the citizens. Eternal vigilance. This is very important factor. What do you mean by eternal vigilance? Eternal vigilance is the citizens must be very alert when the government is framing the policies and different programs for welfare activities. If they are against, then they have a right to raise their voice according to the constitutional methods. according to the constitutional methods like using non-violent methods. They have a right to voice their opinion. So in this way, the citizens can save their rights when these safeguards of rights are followed. So when we speak about rights, definitely we have to speak human rights. All rights are for human beings, isn't it? Rights are made for the welfare of human beings, for the upliftment of human beings. So human rights are moral principles or norms that describe certain standards of human behavior and are regularly protected in municipal and international law. These human rights are protected at every level. Like in India, we have three-tier government system. Like we have local self-governments, we have urban governments, isn't it? We have government at state level. So at every level, these human rights are protected by that sovereign body. These are moral principles that help us to have a standard form of human behavior. And these human rights are protected and supported by all national and international treaties and laws. National and international treaties and laws. Human rights, they include right to life, right to liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression. All these are human rights, right? As a human, we have, all of us have a right to life. That is our basic right, isn't it? Basic right, that is our natural right. We have a right to be free. We have a right to be free. We have a right from slavery, and we have a right of expressing our opinion. We have a right to work and educate ourselves, right to education. And everyone is entitled to these rights as human beings without any discriminations. We have these human rights for all: trust, justice, rule of law, peace, prosperity, and dignity. All these human rights, they provide us all these things to and to excel ourselves in all the spheres of life. Now, how these human rights have evolved, how it has helped, from what is the origin of these human rights. These human rights have come up from different national and international treaties. So here we can see, we will discuss few of them. The first is United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, UNDHR. So this is also considered as the base of formation of human rights. This was the first international document, students. United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, the first international document that spelled out, that casted or that had laid importance on basic civil, political, and economic and socio-cultural rights that all human beings should enjoy. It has stressed on the importance of basic social, economic, and political rights that all human beings should have. It was declared and ratified in the year 1948 by the UN General Assembly. UN Declaration of Human Rights, it was ratified in 1948 by the UN General Assembly. Ever since this was adopted by UN General Assembly, this declaration or this document has been translated in more than 500 languages, and all the countries who are the member countries of United Nations organization, they have signed this Declaration of Human Rights and adopted them in their country. The next you can see here is Magna Carta of England. What is this Magna Carta? Magna Carta is also a document. Magna Carta is also a document which guarantees certain political liberties to Englishmen. England, it is related to England. It guarantees certain political liberties to all the Englishmen. And it was signed by King John. in 1215. Of course, it did not stay for a long time. And if I have to give an example of Magna Carta, here, after this Magna Carta document was adopted there in England, according to this, the Englishmen, they got the right to have a trial, before his property was taken for not paying the taxes. This Magna Carta has given the right for the person to protect his property before the trial in cases of non-payment of taxes. In the same way, bloodless revolution or glorious revolution, we can also call this glorious revolution. Why it is called bloodless revolution? Because there are minor fights in this revolution. When people revolted against the King James, there were minor fights, and all these revolution that is completely was fought without spilling an ounce of blood also. One drop of blood was also not spilled out. That is why it is called bloodless revolution or glorious revolution. And French Revolution. Both these revolutions, they began to bring a complete change in the political system, to bring a change between the rulers and the people to be ruled. And they wanted to bring a dynamic change in the political system. Most probably the French Revolution, it was started because of the poor economic policies which were framed by the King Louis XXVI. He was overthrown after this French Revolution. So these were certain national or international documents which were responsible for laying certain human rights which we all are enjoying now. So let us see Indian Constitution and human rights. What is the place of human rights? And the Indian Constitution incorporated many of the human rights which are mentioned in the UN Declaration of Human Rights. As India is a member country of UNO, it has adopted many of the rights which are declared in the Declaration of Human Rights. Articles 19 to 28 Part 3 are in consonance with human rights of individuals, like they relate to the right to life, liberty, equality, and dignity of individuals. All these are related to the right to life of individual, right to liberty, right to equality, and dignity of individuals. Human rights, India, it is being the largest democratic state in the country in the world. So it always renounces the provision of providing human rights to its people. So the Union Parliament approved Human Rights Preservation Act in 1993. The Union Parliament of India, it approved Human Rights Preservation Act in 1993, and this act, it provided a setting up of National Human Rights Commission. At center level, we have National Human Rights Commission, and at state levels, we have State Human Rights Commission. Whenever human rights are violated, the individual is free to approach these commissions. So let us see these articles 19 to 28, what do they guarantee? Article 19 of our Indian Constitution, it guarantees freedom of speech, expression, association, and assembly. Freedom of speech, expression, association, and assembly. That is, we are free to express ourselves, we are free to associate, and we are free to gather in assembly without weapons, without arms. Article 20, it provides protection to the personal life of individuals, that is right to life. Article 21 of Indian Constitution, it declares that no one should create obstacle to the personal life of individuals against the due process of law. Again, it guarantees right to life. Article 22 guarantees individuals against arbitrary arrest and custody. Arbitrary arrest, that is, no individual can be arrested without any strong evidence. Article 23 prohibits bonded labor and human trafficking. It prohibits, that means it stops bonded labor. The system of bonded labor has been stopped. And human trafficking. What is human trafficking? Human trafficking, it involves the use of force forcibly, or obtaining someone forcibly and involving them in work or prostitution, any other forms by force. Article 24 ban the employment of children below 14 years in dangerous activities, that is, in cigarette factories or any other factories, chemical factories. The children who are below 14 years should not be employed. According to Article 25 to 28, it gives us religious freedom. That is, we are free to accept, we are free to worship, or we are free to follow any religion, whichever we want during our course of time. So we have discussed rights. Now let us also discuss duties, isn't it? Without discussing duties, we cannot just keep. A duty is an obligation of an individual towards other individual residing in a society. The one word which you can easily remember for the term duty is obligation. That means it's mandatory. It is regarded as an obligation towards others. The term duty denotes what one is bound to do, what one should do. Like as a teacher, it is my duty to teach, make you understand the lesson. And as a student, what is your duty? As a student, you should actively participate in the learning process. As a student, you're supposed to revise your lessons and give your excel in your academics, isn't it? So duties, they establish peace and order in society. Duties always precedes rights. These duties always, they just come before rights. First you perform your duty and then you demand for your rights. A duty or an obligation to satisfactorily perform a task. A duty is often perceived as something owed to one's country, that is patriotism, love for your country. Like when we are citizens, we have certain civic duties. They include obey the law. As citizens, what is our duty? Abiding by the rules, by the law of our country, paying the taxes, and providing for a common defense when the need arises, that is serving our motherland. That is also one of the important duties as a citizen. Now we can discuss here types of duties. Types, we broadly the duties are classified into two: moral duties and legal duties. Moral duties and legal duties. Moral duties are those which bound the individuals together on moral grounds. Together on moral grounds, that is on grounds of justice and human goodness. Violation to these moral duties does not lead to any punishment. Does not lead to any punishment. For example, you are traveling by bus, and you got a seat there in the bus, and you see an old lady standing beside you who did not get the seat. As a citizen, responsible, as a human being, you are supposed to give your seat to that old lady or old man, isn't it? That is your moral duty. Even if you do not do that, you cannot be punished. Legal duties are implemented through courts. Legal duties are implemented through courts with the support of statutory laws. They are compulsory and coercive in nature. Legal duties are compulsory. Compulsorily, we have to do them. In case we do not, we can be punished by the courts of laws. Then comes positive and negative. We have two types here again, subdivided, positive and negative. Positive, it goes by name that when a citizen performs the duties, exercises his duties to strengthen the society, to strengthen the welfare activities, that is called performing a positive duty, like obedience to law, following the rules, paying the taxes in time, defending the country. All these are positive duties. And duties, positive duties, they aim at extending the cooperation to government for a proper and perfect administration. Negative, it goes with the term negative, not performing duties, not performing duties. And as it is there in the law, individual does not perform, abstains itself from performing, those comes under negative duty. And the government at regular intervals takes out certain measures to help us in performing all the duties. Let us also now discuss the fundamental duties, which are very important to know. Fundamental duties are enshrined in the Indian Constitution in Part 4A. In Part 4A, we have fundamental duties for every citizen. Every citizen of India has to perform this duty. It is an obligation to abide by the constitution and respect its ideals and institution, the national flag and the national anthem. It is a duty of the every Indian to respect the national flag and the national anthem and to abide, to follow the rules of the constitution, to cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspired our national struggle for freedom, to cherish and follow, that is to have the feeling of brotherhood, to cherish, to admire, and also to bring them in our life, to uphold the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. As a citizen of India, we all have the duty rendered on our shoulders that we have to protect the unity of India, integrity of India. That is, we should have tolerance for each other, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so, to defend the country and render national service, that is showing your spirit of patriotism, showing the spirit of patriotism. We have border security jawans, we have people guarding us at sea coast, in air, isn't it? Because they are guarding us, they are protecting us, we are living a happy life here, isn't it? So it is our duty to give service to our motherland when we are called to do so, to promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood amongst all people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities, to renounce practice derogatory to the dignity of women. We have to live in harmony irrespective of different religion. India is a land of multi-religion and multi-linguistic. That means people here, people who live here follow different religions and different languages, isn't it? Irrespective of all these diversities, like unity in diversity, we have that concept, unity in diversity. Irrespective of all these concepts, we have to promote harmony and the feeling of brotherhood and the feeling of unity, and also respect women, improve and practice the dignity of women, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. We have to promote, we have to value and preserve the cultural heritage, cultural, historical, cultural heritage, historical monuments. It is our duty as a citizen to protect them, to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have a compassion for living creatures. That is not harming others, not killing the other living beings. It is our duty to protect our natural environment, to protect our environment, because if environment is there, if it is clean, then only we can survive. To develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform, That is, we have to develop scientific temper, developing scientific temper, developing knowing more and more about the environment, to safeguard public property and to absorb violence, to safeguard public property. Bus stops, it is a public property. Railway platform, it is a public property, isn't it? As a duty, it is our duty, as a citizen, it is our duty to safeguard the public property, not to damage it. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. As a team, we have to work as a team to progress our nation. So the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement, because one person cannot achieve great things. Great things are achieved by a team, by a united people. Now, originally, there were only 10 fundamental duties. The 11th fundamental duty was added by the 86th Amendment in the year 2002. According to this, the 11th fundamental duty is for parent or a guardian. Every parent or guardian should provide opportunities for educating his child between the ages of 6 and 14 years. Now it is a fundamental duty for every parent or a guardian to educate his child between the ages of 6 and 14 years. This is the 11th fundamental duty, which was added to the fundamental duties by the 86th Amendment in the year 2002. Now let us have a glance when we compare rights and duties. Rights, what is the definition of right? It is a privilege, isn't it? It is a privilege granted to the people by the governing body, by the sovereign body, by the body who governs us. What are duties? They are responsibilities or obligations of an individual which we have to perform, which we have to do as a task. According to law, rights can be defended or challenged by the court of law, but duties of a citizen cannot be challenged by the court of law. What is the basis of right? It is based on the privilege granted to an individual. But duties, it is based on the accountability of performing duties by an individual. There are various duties which are performed by the individuals. So in this chapter, we have discussed meaning and definition of rights, features of rights, classification of rights, safeguards of rights, human rights, Indian Constitution and human rights, duties, meaning and definition, types of duties, fundamental duties, and comparison between rights and duties. All these are very important from point of view of examination. I hope children, all of you have enjoyed the session, and I request all of you to please refer the textbook and clarify the doubts. Once if you give a reading to the textbook, you can thorough with these topics, which you can be thorough with these topics which are discussed just now. Like as I said you, this is a great thing which cannot be done by a person. So this is a PPT, or this is the session which is done by my team. So I thank the webinar team for giving me such a wonderful opportunity for creating this session. I look forward for conducting few more sessions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. SHAITAZ Begum. It was a wonderful session. Every person should know the duties and rights. So certainly the students will not only utilize it for their academic purpose in attempting the examination questions, but for daily use in their life. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session. Certainly we look forward for many sessions from you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Have a great day.
Okay, sir.